use Quizlet in our classroom. All right, everyone. So, okay. All right, so teaching math using Quizlet. So here I am. I am Rory Yakubov. I am a high school math teacher. I'm from New Jersey. I've been teaching for 17 years. I'm going into my 18th year. My stupid joke is, well, how I'm only like 18 years old. How is that possible? Haha, not funny. I know. Out of those 18 years, I've spent, well, 17 years that have passed, I've spent most of my time teaching Algebra 1 and geometry at the high school level. I've been using Quizlet for at least 6 years. And out of those 6 years, I've actually been presenting and hosting with Quizlet for this conference for the last 5 of them. So I presented some sessions in 2019 and 2020, and then starting in 2021, and then 22, 23 this year, I've been doing my sessions and hosting the event. Quizlet has been such an amazing company to work with. They are all about teachers and making sure that we feel super comfortable and confident and that they're creating basically the best resource for our students to be learning with. And it was interesting when I started working with Quizlet because I was scrolling on my Instagram one day and I follow a lot of teachers on Instagram, and I stumbled upon what I believe at the time, I can't remember now, it was either a middle school or high school level English teacher. And she was showing how she used Quizlet Live in her classroom to study the terms and definitions for whatever vocabulary list that she was working with. And I looked at it and I said, oh my gosh, we just got class sets of laptops in our classroom. I have a set of 30 laptops. I really want my students to use these laptops, but we didn't purchase any crazy like math program. I didn't even know of any math programs at the time. But I saw that and I was like, oh, cool. That's like for vocab terms and definitions, but I don't really have too much of that for math. But what if instead of terms and definitions, I just literally make them problems and answers, problems and the solutions? And I started messing around with Quizlet and making my study sets from that. And it really just took off and it blew up for me. And I was like, wow, this is how my students are going to use my laptops in my classroom now. We're going to be using them to study math through Quizlet. And I'm going to make these study sets for them. And then I'm going to encourage them to make study sets for their own classes. And it really just expanded in a beautiful, organic fashion. It wasn't forced. I was learning how to use Quizlet and make those study sets along with my students. So it was very, very cool. Throughout my session here today, I'm going to talk to you about creating classes. If you attended my 101 session yesterday, which is really just the basics of Quizlet, or attended the 201 session with Maureen yesterday, you saw about the importance of creating classes. So I'm going to detail that again. How to create a math study set, like the importance of making the math study set. I'm going to show you how to copy and edit study sets because that is definitely something we as teachers need to be able to do very well. We don't have a lot of time. And some of you guys put in the chat, you are teaching multiple levels. I feel thankful that I teach only 2 subject areas, but I know some of us teach 3, 4, 5, even 6 different grade levels. And so it can feel impossible and overwhelming to say that you're going to create study sets for every lesson, for every subject matter that you teach. And so we have to let Quizlet, the database of Quizlet study sets that are already created out there by other educators just like ourselves, we have to take those study sets and implement them and use them for us and edit them, right? Make them your own, tweak them a little bit, and then use them with your students. I'm going to show us a little bit about Quizlet Live and Checkpoint, and I'm hoping we can get a Quizlet Live or Checkpoint game going on in our session today. That will be fun. I'm going to talk about the impact Quizlet has had in my classroom, messing around a little bit with QChat, talking a little bit about the expert solutions that are options, especially if you're working directly with a textbook and getting those solutions from Quizlet right there. And then we're going to go through our Q&A. So right off the bat, and if you right now want to split your screen, go to Quizlet.com in a separate tab and either log into your Quizlet account or create one really quickly right now along with me. Don't feel stressed if I'm talking while you're creating it, you'll catch right back up. But we definitely need to make sure that we're creating our math classes. So I simply label my classes by the subject area and what class period. So if I'm teaching Algebra CP, which is my college prep, I will label it that way. You can see how many members are in those classes. You can see how many study sets I have in those classes, how it's broken down. And your school is most likely linked in the Quizlet universe of schools. So my school that I teach at, Old Bridge High School, is an option that was in there, which is nice to be able to link it. If a student was searching for Old Bridge High School, they can actually see all the other classes that are created within that school and possibly join another class if that's available to them. But the big thing about creating a math class is that when your students join your class and they have their own Quizlet accounts and they join your class, they are going to have access to study off of your Quizlet study sets through test and learn an infinite number of times. Whereas if they don't join your class and you just create study sets for them, they can click through it, maybe practice it once or twice, but then it's going to ask those students to have their own pro user account. And we don't need the students to have that. We need them to just create their free accounts. Once they join our class, then they have access indefinitely. So that's a really, really big thing when you're using Quizlet for this year, to make sure that you're creating those classes. You can personalize the classes. I don't send all of my study sets to all of my classes. I only drop in the study sets that I feel are super important for those individual classes, which allows for that personalization to go on. Like I said, the learn and test mode is incredibly important. And Quizlet Live or Checkpoint is something else that we use in our class for studying. They don't have to be part of your class to do that, but you definitely want them to feel like they have their Quizlet account. And if they're logged in, then it'll help them, of course, when we head over to Quizlet Live. So what I want to show you right now is this is my Quizlet page. If you wanted to use any of my study sets, let's say you are also an Algebra 1 or geometry teacher, my account is quizlet.com/I-teach-algebra. You can see it at the top of my screen, and I just have backslash sets after so that you can see my study sets that are here. So when I click on what my current classes look like, right now I have these classes here. I actually created this fake algebra period 7 class yesterday in my 101 session to show how a class is made. So I'm going to actually do that again right now. I'm going to show you how easy it is to just create a class. So at the top, I would click on the plus sign and click on the first option that says class. And after I click on class, I would enter in my class name. So I'm going to make up another fake class, algebra period, I'll call it period 10. I'm making something up. And because I teach in high school, I really don't want my class members to add or remove sets. That's really maybe for like a higher level, college level, where students can actually manipulate what's in there. I don't want my high school students to do that. And I definitely don't want them to invite new members. I only want it to be my own students. And then there's an option for you to figure out what school you want it to be attached to. And then you would go ahead and create that class. Now, after you create that class, and let me actually go into one of my classes here. So my Algebra CP period A1 that I have, you'll see that I've been able to drop in all of these study sets into that class for my students to study. And you can see that the study sets I've named strategically, and that's the next topic that I want to go in with you about, is naming them. Now, I have algebra sets and geometry sets. So what I've done is I named all of my chapter test study sets and my quiz study sets. I put algebra in front of it. It's really important because then alphabetically it will sort them. Algebra chapter 1, algebra chapter 2, algebra chapter 3, and so on. All of my tests are in that order. Then I have my final exam review, midterm, algebra. It's very clear that it's algebra. All of my quiz reviews then alphabetically would be in that numerical order. And then after I have all of that, I have all of my lesson numbers. And very often, my fellow math teachers in here Our lessons are broken down in a textbook or by our curriculum by lesson numbers. I can't stress enough how valuable it is to put that lesson number, whatever it is, at the beginning of the title of your study set. That way students can easily find it, and you can easily find it. Like when I'm running a Quizlet Live section and I know that I'm in section 8.8, it is very easy for me to go to my study sets and just type in 8.8 and boom, my 8.8 study set will pop up. I don't have to type in the words. You won't have to worry about a student mistyping the title of something and then not finding the study set. So I do strongly suggest that you put those lesson numbers in. And you can see I have all of my lessons here in order. It's overwhelming too. When I show this to the parents at back to school night, and I show this to my students and the beginning of the year, and I say, look, I have all of this created for you for the whole year. You don't have to stress about when's the study review coming out. I have everything here set up for you for the entire year by lesson, quiz, and test. So as you're starting to create, or let's say you've already created study sets, it's very useful to go back in and organize them that way. Now, the reason why I had put algebra in front many of those lessons is because I want to show you that I also do teach geometry. And so I needed to make sure that after I have all of my algebra content, that any of my geometry content, I put geometry in front of it. So let's say you teach grade 6 or grade 7 or both. It is definitely worth it, in my opinion, to go ahead and put grade 6 and then lesson whatever, grade 7, whatever it could possibly be. Just the organization of it is very powerful, in my opinion. And alphabetically, it will line it all up really nicely for you. You can go ahead and add these Quizlet study sets to any class. So let's say this lesson 1.6 polygons study set that I have, if I wanted to go ahead and add it to one of my classes, I would be able to go to edit. And then I could, change the visibility for it. Let me go back here. Let me actually create a study set with you because that's in my next part of the slide. And that'll add us into going into looking at the study sets into the classes because that's going to guide us in better. So actually making a math study set. So here, create your own study set in minutes. The difference with making a math study set, why this is a little different than what's maybe going on in the other subject area sessions right now, is that Quizlet is designed as term and definition. And how Quizlet's designed to function is that the definition would pop up on the screen and the student would need to match it with the term. Well, what we actually want to pop up on the screen, the definition, is actually the problem. We want the problem, like what is the function of this graph, to pop up first, and we want our answer choices to actually be the term. So what we'll see when we create a math study set is we actually want to put the problem on the right-hand side. I'm going to show you in a moment where the definition would be, and we want the solution to be on the left where the term is. And there's also math symbols that we're going to be able to use. And Quizlet just gets better every year. We're learning so much more about what Quizlet is adding in. So it has a ton of symbols. It's going to continue to build and get even better. I would keep your problems brief. Quizlet's not really great for long, super huge math word problems. We kind of want like straightforward problem and answer, quicker things that students can do. In the plus version, which is what I do have, you're able to add in graphs and pictures and diagrams. So here in the studies that you can see on my screen, I had added in a graph of an absolute value function, and that's when you do have the plus version. I do encourage you to make study sets of at least 10 or more cards in them so that it is a definitely meaningful set. And like I said before, strategically name your study sets so students can find them easily. So I'm going to go ahead and show you right now what it would look like if you wanted to create a study set. So back up at the top, if I click the plus sign and I create study set, I'm going to create a study set here with you right now, and I'm going to make it really basic. So let's say, for example, I want it to be multiplication facts. And so what I would do, like I said, we want to think about it in reverse. Term and definition. What will pop up on the screen? It's the definition. And what we want to match it with, the answer, the solution, that's going to be where the term is. So over on the right for definition, I might put in, what is 3 times 10? Or 3 times 10 equals, my problem goes on the right. My answer, my solution would go on the left, 30. Okay, I could do another one now. I could put in what is 4 times 11, and obviously I'm keeping it super simple. And when I go to enter in my term, I would be putting in 44. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to just make a bunch of these questions. Look, I'm going to put in 5 times 6. The answer is also 30. And look what will happen. It'll say duplicate term, ignore or view others. And you can see that there's a big yellow outline that happens. What will happen when we make math problems, some problems are going to have the same answer. Or you might have true false. Like I love true false math questions. And maybe half of my questions are going to have an answer of true and half are going to be false. It's totally fine. Quizlet's going to be able to read it and your students won't get anything wrong if they pick the wrong one. It'll auto default to that. So I just click ignore. I'm like, cool, I have the same answer again, no big deal. I'm going to go ahead and type in some more problems. And I would go ahead through this whole set. So let's say now I went through, I created whatever problems that I wanted to. Again, the fact that you see the image option here is part of the plus. If you have the regular free teacher version, no worries at all, because you're just going to have that image option won't be there, no big deal. But after you create your study set, you're going to click the word create. Oh, it says I need to choose a term language. My bad. Sorry, guys. And actually, that leads me perfectly to showing my symbols here. So let's say I wanted to say, what is 5 to the 2nd power, right? So right now, if I'm in English, I don't have access to my exponents or my symbols. So what you do is you hover over the language that you're currently in, which I'm in English. Now, I have it as one of my top options because I use it frequently, but you'll see that math/symbols is one of the options. When you click on math/symbols, now I'm in the language of math symbols, and I click in the text box, a drop-down menu will magically appear, and I can scroll through, and you can see right now that you have a lot of symbols here that you would be able to use and access. And if you continue to scroll, you'll actually have superscript and subscript. And so that's a exponent of 0 and a subscript of 0. So I want to go ahead and I want to use my exponent of 2. So that would then show 5 squared. So now I could do 5 squared equals, and that would get me to 25. And I just want to do another scroll here so that you see a few more of the symbols that are there, and those could be super helpful for you. So now when I click create, my study set that I just created is getting saved. And now I have the option to either send it to my students in an email. I could copy the link and drop it in. There's a direct integration into Google Classroom, Remind, Microsoft Teams. We're a Microsoft Teams district, so that's what I would use. Or I want to add this to a class or folder. So now if I click add to a class or folder, I can go ahead and I can add it to that made up algebra period 10 class that I just made up with you. And I could click on as many of these as I want. As I add it to the class, the plus signs become minus signs. They are just all submitted. And maybe I don't want to drop it in those 3 classes and I just wouldn't. Then I simply just exit out and that is all there. Now let me show you what actually happens with these study sets, right? Because we go through the process of creating the math study set, but now copying the math study sets, finding a study set and saying, hey, I want to grab that one. And one of the key features, especially if you have the free teacher account, like I said, you need the paid teacher account to be able to put images in, but as a free teacher account, you can still grab the study sets that have images in them and use them. You just can't create them on your own. All right, so if I go back into my Quizlet account here, and let's say, I started making this multiplication facts Quizlet study set, but I'm tired. Like I just can't continue to make any more. I'm going to go up to the main search bar and I'm going to type in multiplication facts. And when I do that and I type in multiplication facts, I'm going to be able to see some study sets. And I can see, ooh, this one has 163 terms. Okay, same study set. This one has 100 terms. I might say, you know what, this one looks great to me. Let me click preview. Preview will let me see, okay, those problems look like what I want to work with. So now I'm going to click on that study set. I'm going to scroll down, and at the bottom next to where it says who it was created by, there is that save and edit feature. It looks like the duplicate piece of paper. I'm going to click save and edit. And now that study set is getting copied into my account. And I can go ahead now and I could say, you know what? I've got 163 problems here. This is great, but maybe I want to change it up a little bit. Maybe I want to add some cards in. Maybe I want to delete some of the cards. You'll see next to each card in the top right-hand corner, there's an option for deleting. And so maybe that's what I want to do. I want to delete a few of these cards and narrow it down to what I want. After I edit this however I want, I would then click create. And when I click create, now I officially have that in my set of study sets that I've created. Now, for teaching math, you know, there's many different ways to learn, and you've seen sessions on different ways to use the study sets to actually practice. I tend to not have my students do flashcards. There's nothing wrong with flashcards. I just find for math, it seems to be maybe a little bit too basic, right? 1 times 2, okay, it's 2, and then they could arrow over and go on to the next one. Okay, fine, very fair. But what I always encourage my students to do is either learn or test. And when they're part of your class, like I mentioned before, they can access learn and test indefinitely, as long as they are joined in your class. So when I click learn, you can skip how you want to actually learn. You can do a quick study. You can memorize it all. I'm going to do memorize it all. I'm going to say that it's all new to me. You know, students will pick what they individually want as their learning opportunities. And, you know, you see now that you have multiple choice. So 1 times 2 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. Now I see that the numbers are kind of small right now, and that's because the study set's not shuffled. A lot of those problems that had the bigger numbers were towards the end of the study set. So in options, where it says shuffle terms, I'm going to turn that on. I want them to be shuffled. You can also choose your own question types. So right now, flashcards are off, multiple choice is on, and written is on. But I might say, you know what, I just don't want there to be any written questions. And for my math students, I actually often encourage them to take written off. So it's multiple choice only. So I encourage them to, number 1, shuffle the study set, and number 2, make the option so it's multiple choice only. I feel like that works the best for my math study sets that I create for my students. Now, look, it will also change it for you. So here in this one, 72 is actually the answer. So then I'd have to look at the questions and the options actually here, say which one of those is 72. It's 12 times 6, and I would continue on. Now I'm going to click, and I want to also show you that as you click, you can see the bar across the top is showing me my progress. I'm going to get one of these wrong, 10 times 9, I'm going to call it 70. It is telling me the correct answer, but no sweat, you're still learning. Quizlet is so super positive. And then I'm going to keep going. What happened here? Oh, there we go. 5 times 7 is 35. 9 times 5 is 45. Let's get that one right this time. They brought it back. And so it'll tell me, you've got this, keep going. And so I've mastered, I was given 10 questions, but I got 9 of them right. So it's telling me, hey, I got 9 out of 163 questions right. It's showing me the cards that I had studied in that moment. So I really do like learn. I also really love test. Test is one of my favorite features too, because it forces the students to think a little bit more critically about the questions that they're getting. You can put in how many questions you want. There's 163 terms in this set, so I could study all of them. I could study maybe just 10 of them. I can also choose how I want my layout to be, and then I can click Start Test, and true or false. 100 is 11 times 10. That is false. 4 is what 7 times 2 is. That is false. 81 is 9 times 9. That's true. 4 is which one of these? Okay, ooh, and there's 2 options, and it won't matter which one you click, either one is linked to the same answer, so you'll get them right no matter what. I'll choose 2 times 2. 12 is 4 times 3, 56 is 8 times 7, and so on. And so, and then you have some drop downs. You can see your options here, submit your test, and you can see, oh, I got them all right, and I did it in 1 minute. And then you can take a new test, and you could just recap, and it's going to pull a brand new 10 questions from that set. So I really like the test version a lot because it sets it up in a very different way. Matching is a very fun game. Matching is great because it's a drag and drop. And what's fun about the drag and drop is that it will save all of the scores, and it will actually have a leaderboard available to the students. Whoops. Okay, so that drag and drop was giving me an issue. But it will have a leaderboard available so that students can see like who had scored the highest, what were the best scores there. Thanks. And then where's my other card? I have to move my screen around. I am missing that match. I don't see it. Ah, where is it? Is it hidden? I don't even know where it went, but that's okay. So those are all the really awesome ways to study, and it gives you your score, and then you can see like who else had a high score or not. So listen, my favorite way to study with my students is to do Quizlet Live. So what do you guys think if we were on a Quizlet Live section right now? Yeah, so if you want to join me, we're going to need to do this a little quickly. So I'm going to go ahead and click on Classic Live. This is what I do in class with my students. Now, the free version is random teams only, but if you have the plus version that I have, I can choose individuals, or I can have students select their own things. Actually, let's play individuals. That will be great. I can also choose how I want the questions to look for my students. So I want them to have the answer and pick the question, or give them the question and pick the answer. So we're going to play Quizlet Live individually. If you would like to join me, now is the time. Oops, sorry about that. So if you want to join me, go ahead and open up a new tab and go to let me take the sound off for a moment, www.quizlet.live, and you're going to type in the code MPCGQ2. And this is what your students would do live in class with you. You would pull up a study set that either you made or you found online, you took someone else's study set. And we're going to play individual right now because with the teams, that's not going to really work out very well. We really don't have a ton of time for me to put everyone into groups. But you are going to get a multiple choice question on your screen, and you're just going to answer it. And you're going to see the progress going across on your screen as you're going. You'll be able to see like where you are with everyone else. I usually have class sizes up to 30. With Quizlet Live, you can play with up to, I believe, 100 students, and also the same with Checkpoint. So you shouldn't have a problem with, people logging in. If I had chosen the option for groups, for randomizing groups, what I usually do is I will have everyone join in. I'll have it create the game, and it'll show me the groupings on my screen. And then I'll say, everyone, grab your laptops. Make sure your book bags are under the table so no one trips. And I'll say it sorts you by animal names. So I'll say, rhinos in the back corner, zebras, tigers, lions, penguins, whoever it could possibly be. And then I sort them out, and I say, I count down like 10, 9, super dramatic, until everyone's in their spot. And then I press play, and then we go for it. So right now, you're going to get the individual experience, but if you were the group, what would happen is your whole group would have the same question on your screen, but only one of you would actually have the right answer. So it's a group collaborative effort. All right, so I'm going to put the sound back on, and we're going to do our game, and good luck here, guys. And if you weren't able to log in, it is absolutely no worries. We're going to do another game. We're going to show you Checkpoint in just a bit. All right, so you can see it sorted you. So you are by your name. Again, we are playing individually right now, but if we were in groups, there could be like 4 people in unicorns, 4 people in bison, and then they would group together and work as a team to make sure that they pick the right answer. All right, Let's start the game. So I'm usually like bouncing around, I'm like laughing, I'm cheering them on, going, oh my God, Bison, you're in the lead, frogs, good job. Bison, Siberian tigers, great, oh my gosh. Bears, excellent, camels, you got it. Bears, you're in the lead. Oh my gosh, that's 6. Bears, you're doing great. And you can see that these are quick questions, right? So you're flying through these questions right now. The leaderboard is showing the top scorers. Oh, this is a really big close one. This is a close one. All right. Oh, it's giving me enough. So I would say Bears, Rochelle, great job. And then it shows me who got second, Bison, Siberian tigers. I could click continue to stats and show what some of the questions were that maybe people got the most right or wrong. I can also then go out of this. So I'm going to leave. All right, so that was Quizlet Live, awesome. And again, as a group setting, I can't say enough about how engaging Quizlet Live sections are. My students just go nuts. Usually I have a canister of Jolly Ranchers. And I'll, if there's a team that won and it's 4 people, I take my Jolly Ranchers, I'm throwing it over to them. Or I like to get a lot of those like fun vinyl stickers on Amazon, and I might have the winning team come up and grab some stickers, and then we'll run sessions again. So, a session like that went really quick because the questions were quick. But if the questions are more thought-provoking and your students are in groups, then they can, of course, take a little bit more time. Let's try out Checkpoint now. So Checkpoint to me is just more of a traditional class review. So in Checkpoint, it says I can select 6 to 12 questions. So I could go through and I can randomly select 6 of these questions. I can have the answer with the term. I can turn the leaderboard off. I'm going to turn it on. I can also allow students to join late if I wanted them to do. But I would go through and I'd say, you know what, I'm going to pick some of these questions to be on this review. And, I can't pick all of them. So I'm going to pick a few of them that I want to be part of it. And after you select a certain amount of them, then you're able to go ahead and start the checkpoint. So this is another thing where students would then grab their device and they would go to Quizlet.live still, and they would type in the code. So our code here today is C87FFB. So if you want to join in this game at Checkpoint with me, you are welcome to do so. This is just a different vibe. And you might be like, you know what? I just really want my students to individually practice. Okay, so imagine we had done Quizlet Live as groups, but you're like, I want to really just have everyone individually study, right? Because maybe I want to see my exit ticket before we leave, and I picked 6 questions that I want to make sure everyone gets right before we leave. Or maybe you're doing a review right before a quiz or test, and you're not really feeling into a gamey environment. You're like, you know what? I can't have everyone get super hyped up right now. This content's serious, and I want them to practice really well. So let's have more of a serious review, and everyone has their own like dry erase board or pencil and paper, and they're working the problems out and then selecting it for their own individual experience. Okay, and again, if you don't get a chance to join this, the code will actually still be on the screen, and you can join it after the fact, but you'll miss out on some of the earlier questions that are there. Okay, I'm just going to give another moment in case you are looking to join. And then, like I said, you can still join while the game is in progress, and I'll show you what that looks like when someone joins while in progress. All right, so everyone then on their own screen gets the same question. You will click, you can hear all those dings are people answering. Okay, it says there's a new join request, so I would say got it. So if someone joins in late, I would be able to then go ahead and approve them. And I know not all of us were able to join in right off the bat. If you do get kicked out, it will let me know that there was another request. And so good job. Everyone got that one right. And then I can go right on to the next one. Okay, it shows me my leaderboard. You don't have to have the leaderboard on. The leaderboard can be off because let's say you don't want there to be a competition type feel to it. You just want it to feel like good experience. Guys, can you drop in the chat right now? Do you hear the sounds? Are the sounds coming through? I just realized I don't remember if that was. Okay, good job. Oh, the sound. Oh, I'm so sorry. So there's fun sound. I apologize. My apologies on that. Okay. And so you can go through all of this, and I think you guys get the point with this game, but this is what it would feel like. And again, you can take the leaderboard off. You don't have to. Okay. I'm going to push it, and you can push the question too. So I just ended that there. All right, I'm actually going to pause on our checkpoint right now because I think you guys literally get the point of that. But those are my in-class games that I feel like are super powerful. This is actually a picture of my classroom from 4 years ago. Those kids just graduated last year. It's so sad, so cute. And them playing Quizlet Live. I have my students sit in tables with groups. They can have conversations. They have dry erase boards so that they can do the math. I think the question on their screen looked like they were solving some multi-step equations. And you can see in like the bottom right-hand corner, it looks like a student, whoops, you can see a student writing on the dry erase board all the work that is there. So, you can choose what kind of game method you want, or if you're like, I want to use the Quizlet study sets, but I don't really want them to do games, then just have them do learn or test mode in class for sure. Now, QChat. QChat is so cool, and I'm definitely going to be using this a lot in my class this year. This is actually a screenshot of what I did when I went into QChat, and I'll show it to you in a moment. QChat lets students get virtual one-on-one assistance. So I opened up QChat in my factoring study set that I had created. And it said, great, looks like you're studying 8.6, just factoring, please select an activity. And so you can see these are the options that popped up: apply my knowledge, quiz me, teach me, two truths and a lie. And I was like, ooh, 2 truths and a lie sounds so cool. And so look what it did. It pulled from that study set that I had just made problems and answers with. And it said, all right, let's begin the round of 2 truths and a lie. Here are the 3 statements. And it gave me 3 statements, and I had to pick. Now, can you identify the sentence that is inaccurate, the lie? And can you also tell me what is inaccurate about it? How cool is that? That is so awesome. And that was me just trying out one option. So imagine I went in and I was continuing to type through, and I strongly encourage you guys. And this is really the way we always learn everything, is by testing it out ourselves. So if you are in Quizlet right now and you're like, hey, I want to go test that out, I go to multiplication facts at the end here. I'm going to click on QChat, and it's going to give me all of those awesome options. Great, looks like you're studying, quiz me, teach me, apply my knowledge. So it's going to change depending on what the study set looks like. Quiz me. All right, so I just click quiz me. What is the product of 7 and 12? Ooh, it wants me to type the answer in. It's 84, right? So I'm going to click in 84, and it's going to tell me that's correct. Now, can you tell me what the product of 8 and 6 is? Maybe I'll get this one wrong. Maybe I'll say, I think it's 40. Now let's see what it's telling me. Actually, the correct answer is 48. The product of 8 and 6 is calculated by multiplying the 2 numbers together. Don't worry, mistakes happen. Let's try another one. What is the product of 10 and 8? How cool is that? That is, the students have their own personal tutor. Now, I can't imagine things getting cooler than that. So, and there's just the amount of options that are happening there, and the way that it's interactive. Students may feed off of this so much more than going into test mode or going into learn mode. Maybe there it feels too like stagnant or rigid, whereas this feels more expressive. So I think that is just beyond super special, and I'm really excited to encourage my students to use that this year. Expert solutions, unfortunately, because I'm running out of time, but that is also a tab that's there. So if you run through a specific textbook for whatever courses that you are using, I strongly suggest going into your Quizlet account, and you can see at the top next to your library, go ahead and click on expert solutions, and you can search the textbook. You can even search it by the ISBN number. You can search it by specific questions. that is a great option, especially if you are very textbook strict with your instruction for your students. And the impact. I can't stress enough how much Quizlet has been a huge time saver for me. It took a lot of time, I'm not gonna lie, to put these study sets together, but that was also a time when there weren't a lot of math study sets going on Quizlet. There just were not. And I started sharing about math Quizlets on Instagram, and it started to pick up more speed. And now there's just such a huge whole just marketplace of free Quizlet study sets for you to grab, tweak, and edit what you need. I do it the same thing all the time now. So huge time saver. It's so much better to practice this way than on paper reviews. I used to be a big photocopier paper, these math review packets, and that has its place. But once a student actually fills out those questions on paper, they can never fill it out again. The paper is already done. They'd have to ask for another copy. So why not it be these digital flashcards, digital problems, they can write it out. They can get the instant feedback also, right? They're not waiting for me to review their review packet with them. And then they can review as many times as they want. It's so reliable. My students love it. They have practice at their fingertips. So if we did Quizlet live in class, guess what they could study at night? That same Quizlet study set on their phone. They're not like finding something else to study. It's already there for them. So I want to thank everyone that is here, that joined me with this session here today. I know that there's so much going on with Quizlet. I'm going to just kind of scroll through some of your questions right now to see if there's anything that I can answer. Phoebe asked, does Quizlet have math editor? Not yet. But I would not be surprised if that's something that comes in very soon. And you wrote, oh, I see it now. And that's really just like some of the symbols. But I would not be surprised if in the near future at some point, because they keep making it better and better, that we will have more of a real math editor at some point. Let's see, are live games free? Yes, the live games are free. So with a free teacher account, you can run Quizlet Live. You can run Quizlet Live or Checkpoint on sets that you made, sets that you didn't make. You really have access to everything. And my biggest words of advice to everyone here are, if you're unsure about how to use something, find a good time to say, hey, you know what, we have 10 minutes left in class. We're going to test this out, guys. We're going to play Checkpoint together, and I want to see how it goes. And that's really what I did when I started using Checkpoint in my class. I'd been such a Quizlet Live girl, and here was Checkpoint. I was like, oh, I want to test this out. And I didn't really know when to integrate it in until I said, hey, you know what? I have some time. Instead of doing Quizlet Live, let's try Checkpoint instead. And I was able to figure out like the ins and outs on how I wanted it to work for my class and how then I wanted to use it going forward. So I do strongly suggest that, putting things into action, giving them a good shot, and then also just kind of searching for other things online that other people did is the way to make sure that it is the best experience for you and your students. If anyone here ever has any additional questions about Quizlet or wants to follow along with me, you can follow me over on Instagram. I'm at I Teach Algebra. I will post throughout the year about what I'm doing in my math class. I like to post lots of ideas. If you're looking for any study sets and you teach Algebra 1 or geometry, I don't have that many geometry study sets, kind of gets neglected in my world. But just go to my account, quizlet.com/I Teach Algebra, and you can grab any of those study sets, copy them, use them. Okay, please do, because why not, right? I have it all there for you, and it would be great to be able to show that. So I went slightly over time, but I want to go ahead and thank everyone that is here. My math people, we have, I think, the hardest job, but Quizlet makes the practice really enjoyable, really easy, I believe, for everyone. Oh, Jared, go OB football, that's right. Old Bridge. So thank you, everyone here. I really appreciate you being here, and I'll see you in some of the upcoming sessions. Bye, everyone. Thank you guys so much. Bye, everyone.